Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. Today is June 7th, 2023, and it is also Prince's birthday. Happy eternal birthday to Prince.
Wow.
Yeah. And this has been a
Forgot
Barry
about
on
that.
football.
Yeah, this is Ben Dickerson. I'm your co-host. Happy eternal birthday to Prince, one of our famous or favorite musical artists. Um, but we're here to talk about football, folks.
We are here to
And
talk about football.
I,
Yeah.
I must say, I was slightly traumatized. Now, I'm a New York Giants fan. I abhor, if that's the correct word, people who claim to have more than one team. So I want to make something clear. There's usually a team in the AFC that I enjoy watching. I like to watch. I think is a favorite to go far. But I am not, they are not my team. My team is the New York Giants. Now, that being, some people may have
Is that
misconstrued
some
that.
people you talking about me there?
Yes, yes, yes. So I just
Somebody,
want to make
some
sure
people.
we're clear about that. Now, here's the deal. The Buffalo Bills have been one of my favorite AFC teams to watch over the last few seasons. I have been sort of kind of leaning toward them being the best team in the AFC, besides obviously the Chiefs and any other contenders. If in fact the Buffalo Bills played the Chiefs or any other contender in the AFC in the playoffs, I sort of kind of had a little rooting interest in them because I like the Buffalo Bills. However, they are now cursed. They are now dead to me. Okay.
Wait,
I'm
they
done.
dead to
I'm
you?
I'm dead. I'm done with the Buffalo Bills, man. My new AFC team is now the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh my goodness. You're not even gonna go with the Jets, the only team that I have family that played for?
Jets. Come on, man. Come on.
Jets?
It's not going to work. Too much. It's too much going on over there.
The
It's too
Aaron
much going on over
experiment?
there.
Is
It's
that we
it,
can we
that
call it
that's
the
just
Aaron experiment? I like that, the Aaron experiment.
yeah. That's just part of it, though. There's too much going on over there. They have to become a team first. I don't think they.
Canceling,
I don't think.
canceling mandatory mini camp. Did you
Yeah,
see that?
that seemed to be pretty controversial as of this morning when I woke up and watched Good Morning Football. However, over the course of the day, I've watched several different programs, and they kind of seem to be trying to tamp that down a little bit. I know on the program Speak, they were losing their minds too. And Joy Taylor is the only one who was calm and said, first of all, why are you surprised? We're talking about a team that Aaron Rodgers went to. Okay. Why are you even surprised? And second of all, there's the whole thing with them having to play in the Hall of Fame game and taking time off now because they have to report to their official training camp before everybody else. So it all kinds of evens itself out. And you got the Quentin Williams thing, although that has nothing to do with the other players. Quentin Williams is up for contract, and we know Quentin Williams has the same agent
Clutch.
as Justin Hurts, the exact same agent,
That's
not
Jalen
just
Hurts.
clutch.
Clutch.
Yes, but he has the exact same agent that works for Justin Hurts, Jalen Hurts. The young lady, I forgot her name.
Right, I
She
understand.
is, yeah, she is his agent. So it seems like they're trying to, when you have a team in New York City, you kind of have to work the media along with, the fans and everything else. So it all seems to be falling in place in that regard for me. And like I said, I'm sure the Jets will be much improved from the way they were last year, but there's too much going on over there for me for me to expect them to go deep into the playoffs.
Well, Ben, wait now. If the Bills are cursed and we can just X them out, then it's just the Dolphins
No, I'm Xing
into
them
the
out.
division.
I'm Xing them out. I'm
Well, you
not
still
saying they're
think
going
they
to
got
stink and
promise
they're
to
going
go
to
far?
lose. I'm not saying they're going to stink and they're going to be horrible, but if they lose in the first round, maybe I'll be the first one to go, aha. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think you're a little more superstitious than I am.
Oh, definitely.
I'm like the guy from I think it was The Office. He said, "I'm not superstitious. I am a little stitious, though.
Yeah, a little stitious.
Not super, but just a little stitious." So, well, anyway, it's the I spent some good quality time this going through the division that we're going to do for our Brain Trust series. And again, let me remind anyone who's watching to make sure that you click the like and the subscribe button to let us know, that you appreciate this information. Because this week, what did we promise we were going to do?
I believe it should be the NFC East.
Absolutely. Yes, yes,
Very good.
yes. Absolutely. And, again, I learned so much from last week's show. A lot of times, even when I was in school, it's like when you do research on a topic, you just learn so much about the topic. They didn't even give us tests. They should just make us write papers.
Right.
You know what I mean? By the time you write a good 10-page paper, you did all the research, what they
You
going to
know
do?
plenty.
You know what I mean? Yeah, your mind is completely full. So that's how it was, and that's how it is with this week's division. All right, Benny. So this week we're doing the NFC East, and we're going to kick this off with the team that everyone seems. It's amazing how much media loves to talk about the Cowboys. 32 teams out there, and it's like I hear Cowboys, Cowboys, Cowboys. It's amazing.
America's team.
Well, if you want to say so,
I'm not there. That they say so. I don't say so.
I don't know if I completely agree with that statement, but in any event, we're going to look at the brain trust, which includes the general manager, the head coach, your coordinators, offensive, defensive, and special teams, and the quarterback. That's the brain trust. That's the genius. It's the synergy of all of these people that really make up the brain trust. And, what we see on the field so often is that total. So let me just pull this together here. And we're going to start out with the one thing that makes the Cowboys unique, that their owner is also their general manager. Now, Jerry Jones, the owner, was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2017. So he's already in the Hall, Benny. He's already in. Became just the 15th owner in history to earn a bust in Canton, one of 3 current owners to guide their franchises to at least 3 Super Bowl titles. Was also the driving influence behind the construction of AT&T Stadium, internationally recognized venue. And so there was a lot that I could go into back with Jerry Jones. I mean, he was a player, and he came up and all of the drama when he bought the team and fired the previous guy. But that's all history. I just want to kind of mention a little bit about him. And then, again, people, you can go find out as much as you want about Jerry Jones. You will find, even if you just do a Wikipedia on him, he does have a very interesting history in terms of football. What do you think, Benny?
Obviously, a great businessman, has used his business acumen in his ownership of the Cowboys. Like you said, they've won 3 Super Bowls under his watch. He's made some mistakes, but what GM hasn't. I think people are a little tougher on Jerry because of his extravagance and also because, like you said, he's one of those rare owners that happens to be the GM of his own team, and he's in the limelight quite a bit. And he has a lot to say about a lot of things. So, yes, just like we're always talking about, or it seems like the media is always kind of focused on the Dallas Cowboys, no matter what's going on. They use the America's team thing as an excuse Most people don't believe that they really are America's team, whatever the heck that means. But basically, what it means now is the media will always be focused on the Dallas Cowboys, no matter what else is going on. It's what did the Cowboys do about it? What did the Cowboys say when this happened? What did Jerry Jones have to say about it? What does Jerry Jones think about the new rule changes? What does it goes on and on and on. But you got to give him his props. 3 Super Bowls is no joke when there's teams that have never won one.
Absolutely.
Can I say?
Absolutely. I try to impress that on people when we talk about Super Bowls, how difficult it is to win a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So, but then you have head coach Mike McCarthy. So it looks like a total of about 26 years of experience, 13 as a head coach, 13 as an assistant, 6 as an offensive coordinator. He was 125, 77, and 2 with the Green Bay Packers from 2006 to 18. Has the 6th most wins, 29th all time, and the 4th highest winning percentage among active coaches. He will be calling the plays this year. So we will go talk about his OC. But let's see. He had 9 playoff appearances, most by a Packers coach since the NFL postseason in 1933, surpassing Lombardi and Holmgren for the most playoff victories in team history. So that's Mike McCarthy, and he's going to be handling the play calling this year. Offensive coordinator, Ryan Schottenheim. Now, I think it's Schottenheimer, and I think the ER got left off.
Yeah, they got cut off.
As we just said, McCarthy's going to be calling the plays. So he's going to be doing all the other stuff to support that situation as the offensive coordinator. But what I understand now, and it makes sense, I had heard in the media they were talking to I think Mike McCarthy, and they were like, "Yes, well, we're gonna get the passes off faster this year," and they were like, okay, big deal, you're gonna get the passes off faster. But when I looked at the scheme that he's going to run, it's the West Coast offense. So that's a part of the West Coast offense. So he told them in a way what he was going to do, but this really basically said, they even said in here about the scheme being based on short, quick passes to try and stretch the opponent's defense horizontally, which should open up big plays down the field. Heavily utilizes the quarterback under center instead of the shotgun. So we'll see a little bit more of that from Dak, according to this, using the 3- and 5-step drops, primarily out of a 21 personnel. And this is what's kind of funny, which featured a running back and a fullback aligned as a split back. What did I say about Zeke last year? I was like, Zeke, you should play fullback. In a West Coast offense, he might get to run the ball a lot more, and get the ball thrown to him a little bit, and them little flare patterns and all of that stuff. He might not just leading the charge up the middle, you know what I mean, as a blocking back. So very interesting that they might do that. So he's been the offensive coordinator since 2023. He coached for the St. Louis Rams, Benny, going back a little bit, Kansas City Chiefs, the Washington team that needed to change their name, the San Diego Chargers, the New York Jets, the Colts, the Seahawks, and the Jaguars for 22 seasons. Most recently, with the Jaguars as their passing game coordinator. He is the son of the late Marty Schottenheimer. You always talk about genetics. In addition to coaching, he's a frequent contributor to what they call the 33rd team, which describes itself as a football think tank. So he's he's got something going on there. But McCarthy's going to be calling the plays, so there's that synergy between OC and HC. Now, talk about experience. Look at your DC, Benny. Dan Quinn. I mean, this is old. I don't know. You would almost call this an old group. Oh, Brian's kind of bringing a little bit of youth to the situation. Dan Quinn, who's originally, I didn't know this, from Morristown, New Jersey, made his coaching debut with my Niners as a defensive assistant in 2001, and then became the defensive line coach a little later, and then the defensive coordinator. He spent 5+ seasons as the head coach for the Falcons. So with 19 years of coaching experience, he's coached professionally and collegiately for 28 years, spending time as a defensive coordinator. Got to start coaching the line at William and Mary, 1 season at the Virginia Military Institute, and at Hofstra, where he also became the defensive coordinator. So that's Dan Quinn. Let me see here. I'm looking for John Fassel, and he is the special teams coordinator. Not going to go a lot into that right now. What do you think about the DC, the OC, the HC combination there for the Cowboys?
Well, first thing I'll say is I have to respect Mike McCarthy for all the work that he's put in, and over the years, especially during his time with the Green Bay Packers. He won a Super Bowl there. He coached Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. The man obviously knows football, but his play calling has been called into question in the past. Now, last year, they had Kellen Moore as their offensive coordinator. And from everything I heard from all the media types, Kellen Moore is like the borderline up-and-coming young genius, offensive genius. But they let Kellen Moore go, and they brought in Brian Schottenheimer, who, from what I've heard from most media types, is not a very good play caller. In fact, some would say he's a mediocre offensive coordinator. All those stops he has had and all those different teams that he has coached for, none of them have had deep playoff runs that I can think of, let alone a Super Bowl win. And he's been around. This guy's been on a ton of squads. So he just keeps moving from this team to that team to this team to that team. In fact, his last job before coming to the Cowboys, I'm not even sure where he was last season, but I know Doug Peterson got rid of him when he got to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That I remember. So he was part of Urban Meyer's staff. I don't know if he was the OC or if he was the passing game coordinator or whatever was going on there. But that was his last stop, as far as I know, before coming to the Cowboys. So I guess that's enough shade to throw at him. DC Dan Quinn. I like Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's a guy that's been around also, but Dan Quinn has made his mark defensively on all the teams that he's coached for, including the Miami Dolphins, who I believe he worked for the guy that's suing the league. Oh, Brian has a Hispanic sounding name, black guy. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think I know. I think I know
Right.
what you're talking about.
That was that team had a heck of a defense. I believe that was Dan Quinn led. Also, he was part of the Legion of Boom defense in Seattle.
Okay.
And they missed him quite a bit. I heard a lot of the players really missed him once he left and went to Atlanta from there. But he went to Atlanta to be a head coach. So, you know. John Fossil, you won't hear me have a whole lot to say about a lot of these special teams coaches, but John Fossil is a very well-respected special teams coach and assistant coach overall. You'll hear his name a lot. He's been around. He's been on a lot of different teams. but he's been pretty successful special teams wise and putting together kickoff returns, punt returns, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, we get to the quarterback. That's Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, I think, kind of gets a bad rap sometimes, or maybe it's just that we hear so much in the negative about him because we live in Philadelphia. I like to try to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. He is not a bum. Dak Prescott is a very good quarterback. There's a lot of stuff going on the Dallas Cowboys all the time, it just seems like. And some of it, I believe, has been detrimental to him. But they seem to be on their way back up as far as I'm concerned, personnel-wise. They seem to be really trying to get more talent in there for Dak once they realize that he's good, but he's not the guy that's going to carry it. He's got to have weapons, as most NFL quarterbacks do need. So I believe that this will be a pretty good season for the Dallas Cowboys. They are a threat to win the NFC East, no doubt about it. And I expect them to have a really good record and really challenge for the division championship.
How tall do you think Dak is?
I don't know exactly. My guess is 6'3".
He's 6'2".
Okay, I was close.
I was surprised he was that short, you know?
Well, when you say short,
I just thought he was more like 6'4". I mean, in my mind, somehow, I just thought he was a taller
really?
guy.
He carries himself as a big guy. I guess that's why I said 6'3". But yeah, 6'2". I think if you Google what is the average height of NFL quarterbacks, it would probably be 6'2" or 6'3".
Yeah, we talked about that in one of the shows. What that optimum height would be. Not too tall. Get too tall, you get a little lanky in your throwing motions and your running motions. Except for people like Randall Cunningham, who his lankiness didn't stop him. So there's your brain trust for the Dallas Cowboys: Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, Brian Schottenheimer, Dan Quinn, John Fassel, and Dak Prescott. So there you go for that group. All right, next up, you have your Philadelphia Eagles. GM Howie Roseman, head coach Nick Sirianni, offensive coordinator Brian Johnson, defensive coordinator Sean Desai, special teams coordinator Michael Clay, and Jalen Hurts at quarterback. First of all, I got to give them for the diversity at the coordinators' spots as much as the quarterback, and even I think Nick Sirianni is I forget what his heritage is, but I think he might have some Middle Eastern or something going on there. Maybe he's just Italian. I don't know. But let's talk about Howie Roseman first. Did you know this is his 23rd season with the Eagles?
Been around a long time, and Philadelphia Eagle fans have hated him more than they've loved him, although they are loving him right now.
He worked his way up through the operations and scouting departments. Biography, they're giving him credit as being the architect of the first Super Bowl championship in franchise history. The architect.
Yeah.
Howie, the architect.
He put that team together.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Named the 2017 NFL Executive of the Year by Sporting News and the Pro Football Writers of America. Eagles Executive Vice President of Football, also operations from 2016 to 18, and GM as of 2019. So, Howie, the architect. You gotta love it. Nick Sirianni, the product of a family of football coaches. So here you go again, Benny, with your football coaching genetics. Coaches and educators. He developed a curriculum for building a winning culture grounded in 5, count them 5, core values: connect, compete, accountability, football IQ, and fundamentals. That's his 5 connects. So we know now what Jalen Hurts has been hearing for the last few years, if that's what the 5 points are. And I'm sure that had to be helpful to some degree, even for Jalen. Sirianni became the 4th NFL coach to produce a 14-win campaign within their first 2 years, following Jim Caldwell, Mike Martz, and George Seifert from my Niners. That's nice company to be in right there, you know. 2 of his top lieutenants left. Defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon went to the Cardinals, and offensive coordinator Shane Steichen went to the Colts. So he lost his defensive and his offensive coordinator. He spent 3 years as the Indianapolis Colts offensive coordinator. He was a member of the Los Angeles/San Diego Chargers staff for 5 years, including 2 seasons as a wide receiver coach. Back in 2014 to 15, he coached the Chargers quarterbacks, including Phillip Rivers. He began his NFL career with the Chiefs, serving as a wide receivers coach and quality control coach. He also worked with the Chiefs quarterbacks. Spent 5 years at the collegiate level as a wide receiver coach at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, a homeboy, and defensive coach at Mount Union, his alma mater, helping the Purple Raiders capture a national title in 2005. A native of Jamestown, New York, a 3-year starter at Mount Union, he won 3 NCAA Division III national championships and earned All-Ohio Athletic Conference honors as a senior after catching a career-high 13 touchdowns. He also played 1 year in the Atlantic Indoor Football League with the Canton Legends. You know, it's funny, when you get out there in certain areas of Ohio, you find people float back and forth between Ohio, that boundary between Ohio and Pennsylvania.
Right.
My sister, you know, when she was living in Steubenville, you know, I landed, in order to get to Steubenville, I landed at the Pittsburgh airport, and she picked me up. So it's kind of like that. His brother Mike is the head coach at Washington and Jefferson College, where he is the winningest coach in school history. Okay. His brother Jay is a former head coach at their alma mater, Southwestern Central High in Jamestown, New York, where his father Fran also spent 9 years in the same position. Under Jay, Southwestern won New York State titles in 2008 and 2009. So that family's just got football coming out of his ears, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Brothers, fathers, everybody. What do you think about those 5 core principles? You're going to run back to Seminoles and implement that right away?
Everybody uses those, man. They just don't put them in a row and put a title over
Give
top.
a nice title to them.
Yeah.
Nice to have, you know, a word that describes, you know, the situation. So I'm glad for that. You want to move on to the OC, Brian Johnson?
Yes, I must admit, I don't know a lot about the OC and the DC. I believe they were already on the staff, but you can fill me in.
He coached the Philly quarterbacks in 2021 and 2022, playing a crucial role in the development of Jalen Hurts, who posted the 2nd highest winning percentage among NFL quarterbacks in that span. Promoted to offensive coordinator following 2022 campaign. He enjoyed a highly successful 3-year stint at Florida as the offensive coordinator for the Gators, leading them to a prolific passing offense, 387.6 yards per game, ranking 7th in total offense, 509.8 yards per game. So he was getting it in. He coached Kyle Trask, which we'll get a chance to see him compete down in with the Bucs.
Correct.
Kyle Trask led the entire FBS in touchdown passes and ranked 2nd in completions, trailing only, check this out, Mac Jones. So in that time frame, he also coached Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney. 2017 season offensive coordinator at the University of Houston. He coached quarterbacks at Mississippi State, where he mentored Nick Fitzgerald and one Dak Prescott. So we should have some inside dope on Dak. He started his coaching career at his alma mater, Utah, spent 4 seasons there, became the youngest FBS offensive coordinator in the nation at 24 years old. He was a 3-year starter, two-time bowl MVP at Utah, finished with the most wins in school history, including an undefeated 13-0 season. Okay. He was a quarterback, threw for 7,853 yards, 57 touchdowns, and ran for 848 yards and 12 touchdowns. So this is a guy who knows how to throw and run as a quarterback. And this is what was funny. He claimed he gained even more acclaim when EA Sports put him on the cover of its NCAA Football 10 video game.
He's cursed.
That was way back in the day, Benny. They don't even have
It's a delayed curse.
No more.
It's a delayed curse.
Brian Johnson, OC. But I think, again, Nick Sirianni is probably considered the offensive coordinator. What do you think? Kind of like
no.
You don't think so? Not like Andy Reid?
No.
Okay.
No. He's the head coach / motivator / watch over everybody / make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. Brian Johnson will be the true OC. Brian Johnson will most likely call the plays. He has a real good rapport with Jalen Hurts, which made him a no-brainer for the job. And I'm sure this promotion, he will take it by the reins and do the best he can with it. This is probably the highest position coaching-wise that he's ever actually had. So the jury's still out on how well he'll do. But let's face it, he's set up with a quarterback that he knows well and a quarterback that knows him well and obviously trusts him. Quarterback coaches are kind of like the quarterback's best friend. Obviously, they have to have a good relationship with their offensive coordinator. But if you have an offensive coordinator and you have a different guy as the quarterback coach is probably closer to you than the offensive coordinator is. So I expect him
the offense that they run is going to be much different than what they ran last year.
No, I think it'll be pretty much the same with maybe some little wrinkles that Brian Johnson has up his sleeve.
So that would go back to Nick Sirianni then, that consistency in offensive systems.
Well, if Nick Sirianni likes the system that they ran last season, then he's going to say, yeah, we're going to continue to run that same thing. But as the OC, Brian Johnson should have a little bit of freedom to throw some wrinkles in. The system itself may not change, but it may not look exactly the same because there's some things that they may do that they didn't do last year.
All right. Well, we'll be looking forward to some wrinkles coming out of Eagles offense there as Brian Johnson gets a chance to put his touch on it. Defensive coordinator, Sean, I'm going to say Desai.
I think it is Desai.
Became the DC just like with Brian just now in 2023. Started his NFL coaching career in 2013 as the Bears defensive quality control assistant. Did that till 2018, then he became a defensive coordinator for the Bears. He was their safeties coach at one time. He was the 2012 special teams coordinator and running backs coach at Boston College. He was assistant director of football operations at Miami, Florida. 2010 season as the Owl special teams coordinator and outside linebackers coach. Prior to that, he worked as a graduate assistant with the defense and special teams from 2006. He's also an adjunct professor teaching in master's and doctoral programs in education at Temple.
Okay.
Graduated from Boston University in 2004 with an undergraduate degree in philosophy and political science. He earned a master's degree from Columbia and in higher and post-secondary education before obtaining a doctorate in educational administration from Temple. So he started coaching in high school where he worked with defense and wide receivers back in the 2001-2004 era. So
I got one more thing on him.
what?
I just found this out. He is the first NFL coordinator of Indian descent.
You're absolutely correct with that. And I saw that in there, and I didn't include that. So I'm glad you did. Absolutely.
Well, since we were talking about diversity.
Yeah. Special teams coordinator Michael Clay. He was a linebacker at the University of Oregon. He earned second team All Pac-12 honors as a senior, signed by the Dolphins as an undrafted free agent in 2013. He spent 2 years on the Eagles staff as a assistant special teams coach in 2015 and defensive quality control coach in 2014. Spent 5 seasons as assistant coach with the San Francisco, my beloved 49ers, his third year as a special teams coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, and 10th season overall coaching in the NFL. So Michael Clay, a few different connections there. Dolphins, Eagles, Niners. What more do you do in life, right? And then quarterback Jalen Hurts, who some people think outplayed Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl. And I think until you get to his fumble, they might have had that's probably the one big detraction if you're trying to compare the performance of the two. But Jalen Hurts definitely made tremendous strides. He looks like a guy who's completely focused. He is focused. He's handling business on a number of levels. We congratulated him for a massive contract with Clutch Sports, and in that same time frame, he earned a master's degree, and got jacked. As you don't want to give him that as an accomplishment, but apparently he was in the gym the whole time. He was doing all of that stuff, getting it in. So he's getting it. That's in and of itself, I think, is commendable. That he was able to increase his strength. We'll see, and hopefully it'll help him. He already was known for his leg presses? What was he, 500-600 on the leg press? Something like that.
The guy can squat like 600, but he was doing that in college. Where did all this jacked stuff come? He was already jacked. What? Y'all act like he was like.
It was on Twitter, man. They saw him and recently, and they said he looked even more defined, especially in his upper body.
First of all, that's an action shot. Okay. So when you take action shots, your muscles stand out more than they do when you're standing still. Okay. It's impressive. Don't get me wrong. It's impressive. The guy is obviously in great physical condition. Okay. But if you take a picture of Saquon Barkley standing still in shorts, and you take a picture of Saquon Barkley running in shorts, the one where he's running is going to scare you. Okay. That's all that is. The guy's been jacked. He's been jacked since he was in 10th grade. What accomplishment.
Hey, apparently people near him think he looks even more muscular than he did.
Okay, that's good. So, they don't give out touchdowns.
That's what they posted. I shared it. I wouldn't get too carried away worrying about whether he's jacked. The question is he how well can he play? What more can he do?
That's what's important. Not whether that he made some accomplishment.
Especially with
if he upped his bench press 10 more pounds, that would be an accomplishment.
If he could do
But
what?
they
Say
didn't
that
talk
again.
about that.
Say that
I said
again.
if he upped his bench press 10 more pounds, that would be an accomplishment. It would have nothing to do with football.
Okay. So last words for the Eagles before we move on to the next team. Anything else?
Okay, first of all, GM Howie Roseman doing a great job over the last few years, probably right before, probably 2016 through the Super Bowl of year of 2017. Obviously, the architect of that team. Since then, he has been in good graces with all the Philadelphia Eagle fans, and for good reason. This guy has done great work. He's made some awesome trades. He's had some really good drafts, but I would say more than what he's done on draft day is some of the moves he has made as far as bringing in free agents and making trades. He's very, very good at that. And he has been exercising his knowledge and I was getting ready to say savoir faire, but savvy. Okay, very savvy guy when it comes to making trades and dealing with free agents and working out contracts and things of that nature. He's really found his stride lately. So Howie is doing a great job for the Eagles. I remember when they had signs up at the games, Howie must go. So, now they love him. Nick Sirianni obviously is well respected by his staff last year and well respected by these guys, I'm sure, who have been promoted after coming through the ranks. They got to love Sirianni. The players obviously love him. He seems to be a very good leader of men, even at his young age. And that probably comes from the fact that his entire family has been coaching in some high school or college somewhere. So he's come up through the ranks of his family, learning how to be a good coach. And he seems to be doing just fine in that respect. The OC, again, I said, has a great repartee with Jalen Hurts that will serve him well. And I believe I'm almost 100% he'll be calling his own plays, but we'll see about that. But I'm going to stick with that because I think he's ready for that. That's why they promoted him to that job. I believe the DC, if nothing else, is a really, really smart dude. We'll see what he does with that defense, though, because like you said, or like you asked, if I thought Sirianni was going to have them stick to the same offensive system, I believe they will. But defensively, I'm not so sure. So that remains to be seen. I think we'll see some changes in their defensive philosophy. Those defensive changes that we see, if in fact we do see them, will tell us a lot about when they decided to give this guy some more freedom and in fact drafted kind of players that will work well in whatever system that is that he's going to bring into effect. The special teams coach seems to be a young guy, obviously an ex-player, which most special teams coaches are. So, we'll have to wait and see how they do on special teams. I don't remember them being outstanding on special teams last season, but they weren't terrible either. They could use a better kick returner. I know that. Kickoffs and punts. And obviously, Jalen Hurts, I've said many times, I have never seen a player improve so much over one offseason as Jalen Hurts. And I'm not saying he was terrible his first year, but he was like your regular, average, everyday first-year player who showed flashes of greatness here and there and then showed, his youth and his inexperience. And this guy came back like a 6-year veteran in one offseason. It was amazing. The fact that he led them to the Super Bowl is not surprising after seeing the kind of regular season that he had and the stats that he put together. I don't know about outplaying Patrick Mahomes. I will say that I believe the Eagles' offense outplayed the Chiefs' offense in the first half of the game. But the Chiefs' offense didn't turn the ball over, and the Eagles did. and the Chiefs played better in the second half. And that was the story of that. That's what I got on Eagles.
I'm interested in terms of the DC because I don't know what schemes he favors. He was with the Bears, and depending on what regime he was with, is going to impact how much you blitz. And I think aggression was one of the complaints last year. A lot of people thought that the Eagles' defense wasn't aggressive enough relative to blitzing and things of that nature. So
they had 70 sacks.
Hey, I'm telling you what I've actually heard. So you're right, and I think they got a lot of their sacks without blitzing, but again,
exactly,
they gave up a lot of points. Like in the Super Bowl, and so I think that's what people were like. You got to be more aggressive. I think even a former player, and I can't say who his name was, I thought kind of was saying that also. So Sean Desai, super intelligent guy. It'll be interesting to see what kind of spin he puts on that defense. And let's face it, they had a pretty good draft. So they got
those players that were talking about the aggressiveness of the team, I believe they were talking about the aggressiveness of the team in the Super Bowl game, not overall.
Well, it depends on who you're talking to. Our friend Mark Russell, for example, was complaining about the defensive coordinator all through the season. So we'll go with that for right now. There you go, Mark. We threw you out there, buddy. All right, Benny, let's move on to the New York Football Giants, your squad. I shouldn't even say anything. I should just let you tell me all about all of these guys. But since I did the homework, and I'm sure you'll straighten me out on anything that I don't get quite right here, but we're going to start with your general manager, Joe. How do you pronounce his last name?
Shane.
Joe Shane. Hired as the Giants general manager in 2022, spent one season as the ticket office intern before entering the personal side of the NFL in 2001 as a scouting assistant with the Carolina Panthers. He worked with the Dolphins and the Bills. He had spent the previous 5 years as the team's assistant general manager after joining the Bills in 2017. And then in 2008, back then he joined the Dolphins front office. And he spent time as the director of player personnel. He worked under Bill Parcells, Benny. In 2013, he was promoted to assistant director of college scouting. His first NFL job was as a ticket office intern with the Panthers. I think I mentioned that earlier. Long story short, that's your Joe Shane, general manager. So I saw in there the Bills as a part of that. And then you got your Brian Daboll as the head coach. 47 years old, not that old. 20 years of NFL coaching experience, 5-time Super Bowl champion with the Patriots, and won a national championship at the University of Alabama and as his first season as a college coach. He was hired in as the 20th head coach in Giants history. It was his first head coaching position. He joined the Bills in 2018 as the offensive coordinator. He devised the game plan and called the plays, helping the Bills earn 3 consecutive playoff berths and win the last 2 AFC East titles and advance to the conference championship in 2020, and saw the development of one quarterback, Josh Allen. And in this information, Benny, they talked about the 1-year jump that Josh Allen made, because you made that reference that you didn't know of any other player that made the jump as much as Jalen Hurts. But
as big a jump.
It might be Josh Allen. That might be the guy that's close.
That is correct.
AP's NFL Assistant Coach of the Year in 2020. In 2017, he went back to college for the first time in 18 years and became the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach at Alabama. He coached Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa, running back Damian Harris, and wide receiver Calvin Ridley. He spent a total of 11 seasons in New England, and he was the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator in 2012. 2011, he was the coordinator in Miami. He served as Cleveland's offensive coordinator back in 2009 and 10, and he coached quarterbacks for the Jets back in 07, 08, helping Brett Favre pick up the Jets offense after he came out of retirement. His first stint in New England began in 2000, his first of 2 seasons as defensive assistant for head coach Bill Belichick. Prior to entering the NFL, he spent the 1997 season as a volunteer assistant at the College of William and Mary before serving 2 seasons as a graduate assistant for Nick Saban at Michigan State. What a background. Holy mackerel. I'm going to take a breath right there and let you and give you a moment if you have something.
Okay, well, since you want to stop here, I'll go ahead and talk about Brian Daboll real quick. You won't find too many guys with as an impressive resume as Brian Daboll. He's only got Super Bowl rings with the Patriots and the biggest, baddest college team out there lately, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Okay. And also takes a lot of the credit for making Josh Allen what he is for the Buffalo Bills. So yeah, Brian Daboll is big time. And like you said, he's still pretty young. He's got a long career ahead of him. I think he will be a very, very successful head coach in the NFL and for the New York Giants.
Man, when you bring that type of cachet, all of those Super Bowl rings to the table when you sit down and talk to your players, man, they got to listen, right? You know?
They got to listen.
And
this guy worked with Tua and Justin Fields. Why do I keep calling him Justin Fields?
Jalen
Hurts. I don't know why I keep doing that. Jalen Hurts.
Same number of syllables, and they start with a J.
Right. So our quarterback should be all ears when it comes to this guy. Daniel Jones should be listening to every doggone word, every breath that Brian Daboll takes, which I think he is. I think he's been quite a student of the game, and he has learned, and I think it's going to start to show on the field. But we'll get to Daniel Jones later.
Well, the OC is Mike Kafka. He was a 4th-round choice, the 122nd overall pick of the Philadelphia Eagles during the Andy Reid era.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. He didn't play a lot, played in 4 games. He also did stints with New England, Tampa Bay, and Minnesota, where he spent his final season in 2015. 2016, he served as the offensive graduate assistant at his alma mater, Northwestern University. He spent 5 seasons as an assistant coach on Andy Reid's staff with the Chiefs. The last 2 as the team's quarterback coach and passing game coordinator, working with one Patrick Mahomes. In his first year coaching Mahomes was the league MVP and became only the 2nd quarterback to pass for over 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns in a season. So Mike Kafka, interesting background there and interesting connection to both the Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. And now he brings that to your New York Football Giants. Defensive coordinator, 1, Don Wink Martindale. This is his first season as the Giants defensive coordinator, his 18th season in the NFL, and 35th year in coaching altogether. He had 10 seasons with the Ravens, The last four is the defensive coordinator. He won Super Bowl with them. He joined the Ravens in 2012 as a linebackers coach. In his first season in Baltimore, he coached Ray Lewis and helped the Ravens beat my Niners in the Super Bowl. I knew it was something I like about that guy. Martindale was the Denver Broncos linebacker coach in 2009 and defensive coordinator in 2010. He entered the NFL in 2004, coached linebackers for the Raiders, the Oakland Raiders. He began his coaching career at his alma mater, Defiance College in Ohio. It was funny. I know all these Defiance and all these locations because of my background, my family being from Ohio. So, Wink Martindale. That's almost a legendary name there you got there, buddy. And we'll just run through Mr. Thomas McGahee. He played with the Bengals and the Eagles. He played in NFL Europe and was a member of the Barcelona Dragons team that won the World Bowl in 1997. He started in NFL as an intern with the Texans pro scouting departments in 2001. He spent the spring of that year of 2002 in NFL Europe as the Scottish Claymore's defensive back coach and special teams coordinator, helping the team rank at or near the top of the league in punting average, punt return average, kickoff return average, and field goal percentage. This guy is international.
Very impressive. This is a guy. It's funny with special teams coaches. Sometimes a special teams coach will hang around for some years, and then all of a sudden he becomes a position coach and somehow works himself up to a coordinator. And some of these special teams coaches just stay special teams coaches their entire careers. But when something happens to the head coach and they have to name an interim guy, they usually go to the special teams coach, believe it or not. They make him the interim coach.
Okay.
You know why they do that?
Why?
Because he doesn't have as much on his head as the OC and the DC do.
Okay. His plate's a little less full.
Right. But you still got to be a good coach. You know?
Yeah.
You still have to know the players. You have to know the organization. You have to be trusted. But that happens a lot because a lot of these guys are older guys and they've been around. They've seen it all. They've done it all. But this guy, being an ex-player, having played in Europe, having done some scouting, I don't know. This guy might have the chops to be moving up the ladder.
Okay.
I like that.
Like that. Well, Brian ain't going nowhere, I don't think, right away. So he might have to move up the ladder someplace else.
Well, I'm not talking about up the ladder to head coach. He looks like he's a prime candidate to be a DB coach somewhere, though.
You think a DB coach is up the ladder from a special teams coordinator?
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's the next step away from DC.
Okay. All right. So it'd be a sort of a lateral, sort of a downgrade to get set up for an upgrade, eh?
Yeah, if you want to look at it that way.
You look at it that way.
Special
Lastly,
teams
we have Daniel Jones as the last part of the New York Giants brain trust. Became more of a runner last year. We talked to him as almost as a dual threat quarterback under Brian Daboll, and now he has Mike Kafka as his offensive coordinator. You got any thoughts on anything different or what the Giants might be doing offensively this year?
Well, obviously they needed him to run to keep the offense going, but they've made enough upgrades on the offense that they can pull back on the reins a little bit, kind of the same as the Ravens will probably do this year with Lamar Jackson. Obviously, you don't want your quarterback running unnecessarily, and you don't want him running necessarily either. Like, the only way we can keep this offense rolling down the field is for our quarterback to be an extra ball carrier. So they're going to try to take some of that off of him and get him to throw the ball a little bit more. They brought in some more skill position players. They've upgraded their offensive line. So we should see another step toward improvement for Daniel Jones this year. There's no doubt about it. This is a well-tenured and very well respected coaching staff, even the special teams coach. This guy's really been around. And if you take an ex-player and make him a special teams coach, that's one thing. But if you take an ex-player and trust him with a scouting position, that means that he knows something about the game, knows how to look at players, how to judge players, things like that. I like this staff. I really do. I think these guys are going to do really well for a really long time. Martindale's the only one that's really got any age on him. The rest of them are pretty young. If Joe Shane continues to have good drafts like he just had this past draft, and can make a shrewd move here or there to continue to improve the team, then I'll love him just as much.
It's love in the air. It's love in the air.
Love in the air.
All right, let's move on. To the Washington Commanders. Say it with me, Benny. The Commanders. GM Martin Mayhew. Head coach Ron Rivera. Offensive coordinator one Eric Bieniemy. Now in the NFC East. DC Jack Del Rio. They're coming hard for you. And the special teams coach Nate Kaczar. The Commanders are probably the one team that are most like my Niners. You don't know who the hell the damn quarterback's going to wind up being. But they got, this is the funny part. Sam Howell, they don't have a first string and a second string on their prospective depth chart. Sam Howell's like a third string, and then I forget who it is behind him. So since he was the first guy in the line, I put him in there.
First guy in line. That's funny.
So I don't know what the heck the Commanders are going to do at quarterback, and I don't think they know either.
Sure they do.
You do you? Okay, all right.
Sam Howell is the man going into training camp unless somebody beats him out.
Well, let's go through the line here, and we'll talk a little bit more about Sam Howell. Martin Mayhew has 22 seasons of NFL experience as an executive, including 8 seasons as the GM of the Detroit Lions. He's currently a member of the board of directors of the NFL Combine. He's a member of GMAC, the General Managers Advisory Committee, which provides support for the NFL's competition committee. He spent 15 years in the Detroit Lions organization, including the final 7 as the team's GM, and drafted Matthew Stafford, Ezekiel Ansah, and one Ndamukong Suh. He spent 2016 as the director of football operations, special projects with the New York Football Giants. Let's jump over to Ron Rivera. 27th season coaching. Fourth year as Washington's head coach in 2022. Selected in the second round of the 1984 NFL draft by Chicago, he played all 9 of his pro seasons with the Bears. I didn't know that. A member of 6 NFC Central Division titles and a Super Bowl championship in 1985, the Bears. Following retirement from his playing career, he went into broadcasting. I don't remember that. Covering the Bears, of course. And he spent 5 years as the linebackers coach for the Eagles, and they advanced to the NFC Championship in each of his final 3 seasons. His first coaching experience with the Bears was as a defensive quality coach. He was just the 3rd Latino head coach in NFL history, along with Tom Flores and Tom Fears. Fears was with the Saints back in 1967. Rivera worked with the Chargers in 2007, coached inside linebackers for taking over as the DC. As a player, he was coached by the late Buddy Ryan in the 46 defense, and also with the late Jim Johnson. So he's got a lot of background that one Ron Rivera here, coaching, playing, DC, et cetera, et cetera. Before I go to Eric, let me stop there for a second. You might, for you to mention or speak what you might want to say about Martin Mayhew and or Ron Rivera.
Martin Mayhew is one of those, there's a handful of guys who were players that worked their way up and ascended to being general managers. He is one of them. He did a really good job with Detroit before leaving there, but he was a player. He did, in fact, win a Super Bowl playing corner for the Washington team that needed to change their name. They used to be called the Redskins. He finished his playing career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but he was a good player. Ron Rivera was a really good player. Ron Rivera was a standout linebacker for years for the Bears, man. He balled. He balled. He really did. As a head coach, he's had some success, but I don't know. He might be on the hot seat if they don't get off to a good start.
You might be right about that. You might be right about that. I always told you, was not one of my favorite coaches as far as X's and O's were concerned.
Yeah. Well, that's why I brought Bieniemy in.
Nah, let's talk about that. Eric.
Yes, let's talk about that.
This is his 25th NFL season, first with Washington. He was the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator for the past 5 seasons and the Chiefs running back coach from 2013 to 2017. He was a second-round draft pick, 39th overall, taken by the Chargers in 1991. He had a 9-year pro career. He was with San Diego, Cincinnati, and the Eagles. Oh, he played for Andy Reid while he was with the Eagles. In 142 career NFL games, he rushed for 1,589 yards, 11 touchdowns, catching 146 passes for 1,223 yards, and appeared in Super Bowl, 29 in his final season with the Chargers. He was a running back coach at UCLA, coached the running backs for 5 seasons with the Vikings. He helped lead the Chiefs and their offense to their second Super Bowl championship in 4 years and helped Patrick Mahomes earn his second MVP in 5 seasons.
So hold up for a second. So he was a running back coach at UCLA. He was a running back coach with the Vikings.
Yes.
And then he became the offensive coordinator for.
Are you trying to see this
his
consecutively?
Path. Yes.
Well, he started out as the Chiefs running back coach.
And then he left
and then
there.
He became their offensive coordinator.
Oh, okay. I'm okay. Okay. So he's a running back coach at UCLA. Then he was a running back coach with the Chargers. Then he was a running back coach with the Chiefs. And then he became the OC for the Chiefs in that order. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a little more like it.
Got it. Okay. So that's a pretty fast ascension. I believe that his time under Andy Reid as a player may have helped that because Andy Reid kind of saw something in him as a player. And after he got his chops right at UCLA and with the Chargers, Andy Reid grabbed him up, set him up, and boom. They obviously had a really good working relationship. They've done really well together. 2 Super Bowls, right? Well, they went to 3, they won 2, right? Am I thinking right?
You talking about the Chiefs?
Yeah. Didn't they lose the Super Bowl?
Something about that.
Okay. Anyway, the bottom line is throughout his tenure with the Chiefs, people seem to kind of poo-poo his input and kind of give all the praise to Andy Reid. So this is a really big opportunity for Eric Bieniemy to show what he can do. I'm sure Ron Rivera will give him all the rope he needs to do what he needs to do with that offense. And I believe he's up for the task. I wish him nothing but luck. Obviously, he's in the same division as my team. So, when it comes time for us to play them, obviously I'm rooting for my team. But I really like Eric Bieniemy, and I hope he is able to silence the naysayers, so to speak.
We're all with you there. We're looking forward to seeing him be a leader in terms of that offense.
Yeah.
Let's see now. There is one, Jack Del Rio as a defensive coordinator.
Another great linebacker.
Another great linebacker. This is his, 25th season coaching in the NFL, fourth as the Commanders defensive coordinator. He had 11 seasons as an NFL linebacker. Began his coaching career in New Orleans with the Saints under Mike Ditka.
Wow.
Serving as assistant strength coach before moving on to coach the linebackers. In 1998, he was a linebacker coach for the Ravens. He was a DC for Carolina. He spent 9 seasons at the helm of Jacksonville as their head coach. He was a defensive coordinator for the Broncos in 2012 through 14. Through 15 to 17, he was the head coach of the Oakland Raiders. His son Luke also works for Washington as an offensive quality control coach and assistant quarterback coach. So you're talking 25 years of experience. But this is his what they said is his 4th year.
Yeah.
So I remember that last year, and I don't remember how many points they gave up, but I don't remember feeling like their defense was overwhelming or anything like that.
I agree.
Now maybe because Chase wasn't there, and that kind of maybe screwed them up a little bit, but that would show more of a lack of depth.
Yeah, the one guy shouldn't make that big of a difference. They were on the lower level of defenses last season, and I look at him kind of the same way I look at Ron Rivera. Some guys are just kind of at the end of their career. You know what I mean? They're really good. They were really good players, and they were well respected by players because they were players and they were good players. But coaching wise, Jack Del Rio has had a couple of head coaching jobs, and he was not very successful at them. His teams did not win, and he ended up getting fired. And I got a feeling that Rivera brought him on kind of as a, you know what I mean? They're kind of the same guy.
Well,
if Rivera goes,
they can definitely sit back and share some linebacker stories.
No doubt about it. If Rivera goes, Del Rio goes with him. That's the way I see it.
Next up is a special team coach, Nate Hacksar. This is his 15th NFL season. He's been with the Jaguars, the Titans, the Buccaneers. This is his 5th season as special teams coordinator with Washington. He had 3 seasons with Tampa Bay, 4 seasons with the title. Spent 17 years coaching in college. His son Mike is currently a pitcher with the Colorado Rockies.
Oh, cool.
And we talked about Sam Howell a little earlier as the starting quarterback. So this is an interesting group. In terms of you start to look at the coaches and start to question their accomplishment. And head coach, question. Eric Bieniemy, question. Jack Del Rio, question. I'm going to let Nate slide here.
A lot of questions.
But you got some questions there, and then you got a serious question at Sam Howell at quarterback. Not exactly Patrick Mahomes, not exactly Aaron Rodgers. He might not be exactly Purdy. I don't know.
Or he could be Purdy.
Or he could be Purdy.
Right. We don't know.
So
evidently, if they're willing to put him in a position, I mean, let's face it, he only has to beat out Jacoby Brissett. And when I say only, I hate to make it sound like Jacoby Brissett is going to be a pushover because he carried the Browns for the first half of last season, before Deshaun could come back and play. But if Sam Howell can actually hold off Jacoby Brissett and start the season as the starting quarterback, that would kind of be a big deal for him. And we'll get a chance to see what he's really made of because we really don't know. They know more than we do, obviously. They've been around him. They've seen him in practice. They've seen him at the facility. They've seen him in meetings. They know what he knows. We don't know because all we know is what we see on the field. And he hasn't been able to be on the field because they tried to hang in there with Heineke. But this will be his opportunity. They seem to be more than willing to give him this opportunity. As far as I know, unless it was in a very late round, they didn't even draft a quarterback this year. So they believe in Sam Howell.
Okay. All right. We believe in Sam Howell. I'll be looking forward to seeing how that works. I mean, if you're looking at quarterbacks across the NFC, Sam Howell, Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, and Dak Prescott. There you go.
Sam Howell is from North Carolina. I remember his name. When they talked about him, I remembered his name. I had no idea he was with them. I believe he was the quarterback when the running back for Denver now, Javonte Williams. They had two backs came out the same year. I think he was their quarterback. Javonte Williams with the Denver Broncos, and the other guy, because they had a 1-2 punch at running back. My college stuff is getting away from me a little bit. Can't remember who the other running back was, but both running backs got drafted.
Well, he was with North Carolina. I do see that.
Yes.
So.
Oh well, I guess it doesn't really matter. He had a decent college career. He wasn't a bum. Let's give the guy a shot.
He can't be Purdy because he went in the 5th round. That's too high.
I mean, once you get past the 3rd round, there's not a whole heck of a lot of difference.
Oh, stop it.
No, it isn't. Look at the big deal they made about Tom Brady. He went in the 6th round. They acted like that was preposterous.
It was.
It was. Okay. Nothing more preposterous than being Mr. Irrelevant, right?
Yeah, I'm telling you. All right, so that wraps up the brain trust for the Washington Commanders, the NFC East. And let me tell you something, Benny. Again, learn so much about these guys to see these different teams with the accumulation of experience, and some of these guys got doctorate degrees, and it's really going to be interesting to know as much as we know about the brain trust now, and we'll have to include that when we talk a little bit more again during the season when we're looking at the net points and the bias plus reports and all of that stuff. We'll have to think brain trust. So we did the NFC. You want to switch back over to the AFC next week?
Sure, why not?
All right, we'll figure out who that's going to be. I'm not quite sure yet who's up next for a division in the AFC, but that was pretty interesting. Okay, Benny, so let's take a quick look at the Ben and Barry on Football Facebook page. I just want to throw a little bit of love out toward the women who are playing, strapping it up, helmets and everything. The Austin Outlaws, one of America's longest-running women's football teams. Look, Benny, knuckles down to the ground. This ain't no flag here, baby.
I see.
So you can check that out on Ben and Barry on Football. Josh Allen, we saw he was rumored to be on the cover, and as we will see a little further on the cover. Serena, and Venus are listed as the first African-American minority owners in NFL history. Fuck that the Lions had a minority owner already on their team. But what happened?
Well,
This
but
guy
we have another one.
Huh?
We have another one recently. Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson with the Commanders, right?
Right.
That group. Yes, absolutely. But apparently they in 2009 they invested $1 billion for a minority stake in the Miami Dolphins, and that investment is now worth 4.68 billion. So you know I had to do the math on that. That came out to a 11.5% return, compounded average. Hey, if you can get 11, 12%, man, ain't nothing wrong with it. You know
Ain't
what I'm
nothing
saying?
wrong with it. Not a thing.
Rule of 72 say that money doubles every 6 years.
Yeah.
You know? And when I've sat down and taught people the rule of 72 and doubled $1,000 every 6 years, people were amazed at the amount of money it grew into. Absolutely amazed. It was one of the more fun things that I used to do. Well, to be quite honest with you, I would always compare it to a 6% return and just show people that it wasn't double. The percentage was double, but the returns were not double. The returns for the 12% were exponentially more, you know. But I digress as we move forward. We have here a chart, Benny, the head coach rankings per a Ross Tucker here. So he has all the rankings. He got Peyton in there, number 4, you know. So would you
After
right now
taking it,
Belichick is the second best coach in the league? Would you still
well,
give him that love?
hold on a second. Wait. Hold on. Let's slow down here a little bit. First of all, I like Ross Tucker. Ross Tucker is a pretty good guy. He comes on the radio every once in a while.
Well, I'm glad you know him. I didn't know him.
Yeah, I forget who he works for, either the Sports Illustrated or one of these. He works for somebody. But he does come on the radio. He comes on the Fanatic every once in a while as a special guest to talk football. And he was a player.
Okay.
I believe he played for the Bengals back in the day. But anyway, when I look at this and I see Belichick sitting here number 2, I'm thinking, is this supposed to be all time or current? Because it can't be current. It can't be current. You got Sean Payton, who's coming off of a year-long sabbatical at number 4. How is that? I would wonder, what is the criteria for this list? There's got to be some kind of strange criteria for this list. Where is Andy Reid? Why do I not see Andy Reid?
He's number 1.
He's number. Oh, okay. My eyes got away from me. Dayball number 8. I like that.
You'll take that one?
I'll take that one, and I'll take Shanahan McVay. Sirianni, because he's got a recent Super Bowl, is ahead of Shanahan and McVay, but I don't know if that should be. Tomlin gets a lot of respect. This I don't know. I'm wondering about the criteria. This criteria must not take into too much consideration how your team is doing lately. It's probably based on the head coach himself and his full career. You know what I mean?
You mentioned Ross Tucker's playing career. First of all, he's out of Wyomissing, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. That's why he comes on Philly Sports Talk sometimes.
Went to Princeton. He was with the Redskins, the Cowboys, the Bills, the Patriots, the Browns, and the Redskins. Again, I should say, team that needs to change their name.
Okay.
They needed to. They have changed their name. They're now the Commanders. So
he was a tight end, right?
What was he? I don't know.
I think he was a tight end. But anyway,
his career for your
if I can't really comment.
They got him on the line, Benny.
Oh, he was lineman? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't really comment fully on this because I don't know what the criteria was for how he made his selections here. Scroll so I can see who's at the bottom.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
Jonathan
Yeah.
Gannon.
Oh, they got my man D'Amico Ryans next to the bottom.
They got him down low. Now I don't think that's fair.
They got him after Shane Steichen.
Yeah, well, all three of them are rookie head coaches.
Rookie head coaches.
Right in a row. All three are rookie head coaches.
That's true.
That's
true.
Well,
it's interesting. It's an interesting list. People can debate this list. You can go to Ben and Barry on football, take a quick look at it. Ben, this article was disturbing in the consistency of how much of a snake Donald Trump is. If you hadn't had a chance to go back and read it, I wouldn't even talk about it a whole bunch. To go back and read it, because what the guy did is he did such a great showing a parallel between what Donald Trump did to the USFL and what he was doing to the country.
Yeah.
Same agenda, same approach, and same lack of honesty. So take a look at that. Speaking of lack of honesty, look at who he was shaking hands with right there. Holy mackerel. Gee.
Class A liar.
Football is life. This also was an interesting story. U.S. prosecutors say ex-NFL investors should get more than 7 years in the crypto scam. Let me tell you something.
That guy was an ex-player, right?
Yeah, the cryptocurrency thing has screwed up a number of people, even people who were trying to do the right thing or thought they were doing the right thing.
Right, right.
But here you're talking about connections between the NFL, what they call shadow banks, the Alliance of American Football. So now we're over in Europe, and former NFL player convicted of wire and bank fraud and conspiracy to operate an unlicensed money transmitting business.
Wow.
It's really a muddy place to be so early on in this technology with blockchain and cryptocurrencies, especially. Blockchain, everybody's pretty cool with as a technology for whatever you're going to build your platform on. But the cryptocurrency is a whole nother thing. Right now, I believe Coinbase is being sued by the Security Exchange Commission. It's funny, I tell people all the time, just to have an account, I put $100 in Coinbase and bought $100 worth of Bitcoin. It was worth $40,000 a coin at the time. And I remember saying, I just invested $100 in Bitcoin, thereby guaranteeing its demise. It's worth like half of that now. It might be up to 30,000, but it was down to 20,000 at one time.
That's crazy.
So my $100 investment dropped closer to 50. Well, there's your Jalen Hurts shot that you're not real thrilled about there in terms of giving him.
It's a nice picture.
I was so sad when Henry Ruggs III got into trouble in the first place. I really was looking forward to him playing in his career. Apparently he took a deal because the prosecutor and them were having some problem with his urine tests, and they didn't want to have to bring that out. So somehow they got him to get a plea deal, take a lesser penalty, and he did that. But he's still going to spend a little bit of time because you're talking fatalities here. We talked about Chase Young. He'll be back. We'll get a chance to see whether he has a measurable impact on the Washington Commanders defense. Did you see the Travis Kelce video?
Yeah. He's a clown, man.
He's hilarious.
Funny dude. He's a funny dude.
He's hilarious. And here, just so everybody can confirm why Ben has kicked the Bills to the curb, now that they're cursed.
I tell you what, I can't remember who the heck it was, but there was somebody on a talk show on TV today that said the fans that are in this picture, if they're part of the Bills Mafia, those guys that do all the crazy stuff out in the parking lots, he said, you better be careful.
Better stop jumping on them tables.
Yeah, watch yourself. Be careful, because you're something too.
it's funny that you mentioned that because it's a folding table.
Right.
And I remember really screwing up my back, sitting back. I was in the cafeteria, and our tables in the cafeteria generally pretty sturdy cafeterias. I mean, cafeteria type table. But someone was doing a presentation, and they had a folding table in there, and I didn't realize it. And I was talking to somebody, and I just leaned back on the table, and it collapsed, and it wrenched my back like this. You know what I mean? And really created a problem. So them jumping on that table thing, man, that looks really, really hazardous. So we'll end up with this here, Benny. I just thought this meme reminded me of me and you as our football Jones.
I'm ready.
We're living through this period where we have the USFL. Let me mention, USFL is 80% through their season. So it's time to really start to pay closer attention. We'll talk a little bit more about them next week. As we I'll have some specific information on them. They'll be close to their next to last game. We'll pretty much know who's going to the playoffs, who's not going to the playoffs.
Cool.
And we can talk about them at that time. So thanks for following. Please leave comments and suggestions. Our motto is football is life. Look it up on the hashtag. Again, click the subscribe and the notification bell. Benny, any last words?
Beware.
Beware. Cool.